Uh-oh, I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
Okay.
Permission to your mic?
I am talking.
Yes, I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
No.
Apparently, I was talking too, and I was on mute. So I don't even know. I don't think anybody heard anything that I was saying before. So nice of you to come and meet me and meet us here and give back to our community.
Absolutely.
So what I was explaining to everyone, people on TikTok, apologies. Restream is not working with either one of my TikTok profiles right now, which is okay. We just have to roll with the punches. Um, so right now we're live on Instagram as well on our two YouTube channels. Um, I was also supposed to be having a drink. I'm not going to be having a drink today. My body does not feel for alcohol today. And we have to listen to our bodies. So I have pink lemonade that I made. So I'll be drinking just that. But we will be talking about the breathalyzer as well, right? To keep in line with what we're talking with what I am doing as a business owner. Brandon, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
Misty says no sound. Misty, can you hear the sound now? 1 second, Brandon. Oh look, it's 1:11. My favorite. 1 second, Brandon. Let's get everything together here. So I'm just coming from an event, as you can tell. And hi, Matep. Blessings. Just coming from an event. So I had to come in, try to see where I can fix this camera, how to fix this camera and get everything together. But Brandon, really, really am happy you're spending the time with us today. Yeah, I have a ring light too. Let me turn it on. Think that's better? Yeah, that's actually better. I can actually see better. So let's start. So, first of all, everyone, thanks for joining us, right? Good afternoon, and thank you so much for coming here with us on the Business Matters podcast and YouTube channel. My name is Julia, Miss Julia, also known as Miss Blue Fire. Right now, you're seeing the breathalyzer girl because we're incorporating my business in some of our live interviews. So, I created this platform with one purpose in mind to give back to our community, particular to those of you who are building or thinking about building your own businesses, right? We all know that entrepreneurship is a very, very lonely road. I need to cut my bangs. I'm going to cut them this week, I promise. Entrepreneurship is not easy, it's a lonely road, right? Whether you're just starting out or you have been on the journey for some time, access to the right knowledge, access to the right tools and mentorship, it makes all the difference. Now, what I found, unfortunately, many aspiring entrepreneurs, they don't always have the time, they don't have the resources, they don't have the guidance to find out what they really need and to find what they really need to move forward properly on their journey with confidence. So that's where our Business Matters podcast and channel comes in. Every week, we deep dive into a new business book, carefully selected by moi, not for just its popularity, but for its value, right? So these books, they're filled with practical insights, timeless lessons, and powerful strategies that will help you grow. It will help you lead and it will help you succeed, no matter where you are in your journey. My mission is to break down these books and to share the key takeaways with you in a way that's accessible, relevant, and most importantly, actionable. So think of this channel as your personal shortcut to the lessons that have transformed the paths of many entrepreneurs, myself included. But more than that, this is a space for community, a space where we support each other, where we learn together, and where we stay inspired to keep going, even, especially, not even, but especially when times get rough. So, my goal is to make sure that knowledge is no longer a barrier for anyone with the vision, right? The vision and the drive to create something meaningful. So, if you're serious about building a business and growing your mindset and investing in your personal and professional development, you are in the right place with our podcast. So, thank you for being here at the beginning. I look forward to growing with you and learning with you and walking this journey together. So, welcome everyone to the Business Matters podcast. This is where we ignite ideas, we empower minds, and we support the future of entrepreneurship. So, hello, my dear Brandon. Today's guest, let me do an intro for you. But let me, because I was speaking to the audience before, but I was on mute. So, everyone, we were supposed to have a drink today and use a breathalyzer as we normally do with these interviews. But I'm not going to be drinking today, and neither is Brandon. We spoke about it. My body doesn't feel for alcohol today, and I had a drink on Wednesday with our yoga practitioner. Actually, that was two standard drinks. So my body doesn't feel for another drink. So I made some pink lemonade. So I'll be sipping this. So it's non-alcoholic, but we'll still be talking. We'll still have a chance to talk about our breathalyzers. What are you having, Brandon?
Wonderful bottled water. That's all.
Well, let me introduce you. So today's guest is the phenomenal Brandon Felder, a visionary music director, pianist, composer, and educator. He has touched every layer of the word of the music world and the word music too, actually, Brandon, right? From gospel choirs to Grammy level recognition. With over 20 years of experience, Brandon continues to inspire the next generation of artists with a contagious passion for music, a deep commitment to education, and a bold dedication to creative excellence. Whether performing for presidents, curating tributes to jazz legends, or directing choirs across major universities, Brandon brings heart, innovation, and brilliance to everything he touches. His upcoming release, Mosaic Intersections of Sound, is yet another milestone in a life dedicated to artistry, mentorship, and soulful expression. Good afternoon, Brandon, my buddy, and also my buddy from
Howard,
HU,
Howard University.
the
Ooh,
the real the we have to say it right, the real
oh,
HU,
the only. The only. Thank you.
the oh.
Thank you, Miss Julia Bluefire, Breathalyzer Girl Matthews. I need to take
Wait, hold on. You know what? I think you sound terrible.
uh,
Speak again.
testing, testing. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Is that better?
Okay.
Is
What
that
did
better?
I think so? Can you go a little louder?
Okay. Is that better right there? How about right now?
Um, let's hear from the audience. Miss T and Imhotep, what are you hearing? Are you hearing him clearly?
Can you hear me?
Let's see what they say. Miss T, Imhotep, what are you hearing? Oh, my bra strap is showing.
Testing, 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 testing.
Yeah, I can hear you a bit. You don't have another mic, eh?
Let's
That's
see. Let's,
you're not as clear as I would like you to be honest.
1 second.
Oh, yes, Miss T says she can hear,
Oh,
but I don't think I think it's muffled. Just try your phone, your thing anyway.
let's see if this will. Hold on 1 second. Let's try it
Okay.
the other way. I'm going to keep talking though, but no, thank you for the
Yeah,
introduction.
keep talking.
Thank you for the introduction and thank you for having me. Saying it's a little muffled. Okay.
Yeah, it's a little muffled. That's what Imhotep says.
Okay.
And by the way, or my panel, I chat, they're all music lovers, eh, Brandon?
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
all music lovers and all very versed in music and composing music. They have a great ear for music, especially Imhotep.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, he has a great musical mind. Like he can tell you every song that some of the oldies, he can tell you exactly where he was when he first heard that song when he was a kid. That's how much music is a part of his journey.
Let me try. Let's see if we can do it another way. It's a little bit.
Whoops, my dress is slipping. It wasn't slipping today. Exactly where he was.
Let's see. Hold on.
Uh-oh. I hear a feedback. So you're I'm hearing me. So
I'm gonna still try to do it.
okay, wait, that's better.
Okay.
Talk again?
Okay. Is that better?
Yeah, I think that's better.
Okay. Okay. Well, no,
Okay.
thank you for having me, Miss Julie. It's great to see you. Thank you for all that you are doing to advance just awareness in your field as well. And you are an artist yourself as well. And
Yes.
the one word that you just mentioned is so very, very crucial is empowering and also
Yeah.
enlightening to make a difference for others, whether that's in business, whether that's in just awareness. And that's really what my goal and mission with music is to just make sure that people are aware of the power of music that it has. Um,
Yeah.
as an educator, my goal is really not to make the best Beethoven or the best Quincy Jones or Michael Jackson, but just that the arts and that music becomes a universal message to inspire and to lift people,
Yeah.
just so that humanity is for the betterment.
And music heals, Brandon, does it not?
Absolutely, it heals. It
Absolutely. It's a healer.
yeah, it's
Everything is vibration.
it's called wellness for me. Just and so
Yeah.
you may know how it makes you feel, but you'll never forget where you were when you've heard certain songs and where it's transported you kind of past whatever your circumstance or whatever your situation is. So for me, that's been my path since the age of 6, and now I'm only 26, right? With all uh, yeah, for me, music became healing and therapeutic and something that I enjoyed when I was learning how to play the piano at the age of 6, but it became a way of life for me. Uh,
Yeah.
and so at this point in my life, I am really, really blessed, fortunate to be able to share this gift with so many from the ages of 3, 4, and
Yeah.
5 years old to senior citizens who are even in their 80s and 90s. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
powerful.
And I appreciate that. And you've always been sharing, you've always shared your gifts. I
Absolutely.
mean, and always made us feel better through your magic fingers, I call them. All right, so let's start with the questions, Brandon.
Okay.
Let's start at the heart. Well, you see, you already answered this question, Brandon, before I
I'll
even
answer
asked.
more. I'll answer more.
You're so ahead. Okay, what does music mean to you, and when did you first realize it would be your life's calling?
So I didn't quite answer. I started at the age of 6. My parents had
Yes.
me um, starting piano lessons, but as we're young, as parents try to get you engaged in so many different things. So it was the
Yeah.
piano, it was the sports. I actually did karate. I really wanted to do football and basketball, but they kind of forced me to kind of keep the piano. Um,
Yeah.
I was pretty good at it, but I never really thought that it was something that I wanted to do until maybe 7 or 8 years later when I was going right before I went into high school, around 13,
Mm.
14 years old. I kind of said, well, maybe this is something that I wanted to do. And I'm grateful for my music teacher that I had from the age of 6 to 17. I had the same music teacher. And
Mhm.
her name is Ella Robinson from New York, from Buffalo, New York. And she actually is the reason why I went into teaching and education because I saw with her that she loved to teach, but in addition to loving
Right.
to teach, she was also a professional musician herself. So it was
Right.
an opportunity that she could do it on quote unquote as the gigging musician or the side musician and still also
Right.
empower others as well. So I actually tell everybody that, even at the university level, they ask me, what is music, professor? And I said, music is the art of organized sound and
Yes.
silence to
Yes.
express emotion, moods, meanings, and message.
That's right.
So
That's a Music is organized sound and silence.
Yeah,
That is beautiful. That is actually is the expression of organized sound and silence.
yeah.
I love that
The silence,
because the pauses do matter,
yeah, the silence is
right?
important because we we find our rhythm, we find our balance
You find it, yes.
in the rest as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just and silence is very profound too, even in conversation, right? Right? And just expression, period, right? It just gives you that space for thought. Um, and the silence actually shapes the music, right? The silence does shape the music. I love that. I'm going to remember that quote, Brandon. I'm going to always, of course, give you credit, as I always do, but I'm going to remember that quote. I love it.
Yeah,
Okay, so your musical journey, it blends gospel, it blends jazz, soul, classical, and more. How did you discover your voice among so many powerful influences? I remember you mostly for jazz, maybe because you were at Howard, right? But okay,
Ah,
should I let me restate the question because I kind of messed it up by talking.
no, no, I think I kind of,
You got it?
yeah.
How did you discover your voice among so many powerful influences? Because you had the influence for jazz, gospel, classical, soul, and much more.
It's kind of like, and it's funny you bring up Howard. I think
It's not funny. That's where we met.
I well, there was a professor of music there, and he actually just passed away this week. It's
Which one?
Dr. Norris. Yes, he just passed away
Passed away this week?
this week. Yes, at the age
Oh my
of
goodness.
93. And he was so impressionable, but there was something that he said um, while I was there, and
Yeah.
he asked me what was my favorite meal or favorite food, and I think a high school kid going into college, I said pizza, and so so he said to me, well, could you imagine eating pizza every day?
Right.
And
Right.
he's like, well, no, you want to be able to have a well diverse budget of appetite of different things and different foods, and just even if you don't like something, at least to try it. And he made that philosophy of music, which is something that I really treasure to this day. Of there's so many different forms, and it's not that I don't claim to be a expert in any one of them. um, I just kind of find myself learning the best that I can to appreciate
Yes.
all of them. I
Yes.
call it, is like the 360 degrees of music.
360 in the music. And you know what else too? And first of all, condolences to him because I'm to his family because he was one of the like we lose some great ones. Professor Selman when he passed, like
Yeah,
that hurt me so much. Timmy Ray, I was so close to Timmy Ray. That hurt. Professor Edmonds, who taught us that it's not show business, it's business show. Remember?
yeah,
Professor Edmonds, it's business show. It's about the business. It's not just about show business. Like she reinforced so many. There were such great professors, man. Honestly.
yeah.
Anyhow, let me get back to what I was saying. Sorry for the tangent. Um, Cross pollination is great. Being able to cross pollinate and enhance your palette for sound.
Hmm.
It must have helped you with other genres, right? So tell us about that. Tell us about how
Oh,
being exposed to more, and that's why I always say, Brandon, I always say exposure matters. Exposure matters. Like you can read something as much as possible. The experience, the exposure matters because it's a different type of learning, it's a different type of intelligence. So you tell us now, and this is what I always say with everything that you're going to go into, expose yourself because I listen to music that I don't even know the language, I don't even know what they're saying, but it's music. So tell us how the cross pollination or your exposure to the different genres actually helps you in your musical career as well as being the professor that you are.
the great thing about
That wasn't on the script, but
no,
you got what I'm asking you.
the great thing about it is
Yeah.
how it helps is falling on your face and being okay with that. There were times when I was at Howard, or just even after graduating from Howard, I was
Mm-hmm.
contacted to do some gigs that I was not really the most
Verse
comfortable.
that.
Yeah, comfortable. Like I
Yeah.
did a country gig once, I did a jazz gig, and I was more, believe it or not, at Howard, I was more on the classical and on the gospel side.
Yeah. And jazz too.
And
Yeah.
some of the jazz, but some of the real, as I call them, the jazz heads, they didn't necessarily at the time consider me a jazz head. So there were some
Yeah.
where I kind of had to, and I hate to say it, you had egg on your face or fall on your face. And so those experiences, which although they hurt, I think that they help
Yeah.
to at least give you an awareness of like, okay, let me sharpen up this skill
Yeah.
just a little bit more. I think that
Yeah.
the one part of the cross pollination that you're saying, the cross pollinizing, is just it's the aspect of the the genuineness of your art, the the
Yes.
reality of your craft, and
Yeah.
realizing that
Yeah.
you are imperfectly imperfect. Um,
Just like Miss T. Miss T. That's actually her name. Miss T. She's one of our supporters, and she's like she just wants to learn and just improve her life. Right. Her name is actually Miss T. Perfectly Imperfect. So shout out to Miss T for that. But anyway, continue, Brandon.
so,
I'm listening to you.
so
But you sound a little. Honestly,
it's
I
still
think you could sound better.
okay.
Yeah. Like, can you do something else with your mic? Because playback quality.
Is that better?
That's actually better.
Okay, is
Yeah,
that better? Okay,
that's better. So don't move. Don't do anything.
got you. Okay, I changed the setting. Okay,
Yeah, continue. I'm listening to you.
so yeah, I remember doing some performances at Howard, and like afterwards, and like I said, I fell on my face, but I did not allow that to be a stumbling spot for me. So that I learned from my mistakes of how to improve and how to do things better. I bring
Yeah,
up, and then the one great thing about Howard and Washington D.C. and just the universe and God and all of that is
yeah,
he brings you along with people in your journey that kind of have that same mindset. So I
yeah.
had folks around me that were very much like, no, it's not either or, it's both and. So
Right.
you should be able to do this and that. You should be able to.
You should be able to do this and that. That's right.
And so, though many of those gigs that I fell on my face on at Howard, my freshman and sophomore year, by the time I became a junior and senior, I had sharpened my skills enough
Yeah.
that they called me back, and then at that time oh, this sounds a whole lot better. This sounds more authentic.
Yes.
Sounds
Yeah.
more genuine.
Yeah.
I bring up it's so funny, and God rest her soul, Aretha Franklin. One of her
Yeah.
most popular performances is when she sang. I think it was for the Grammys, as a matter of fact, for Pavarotti when he was sick, and sang
Yeah.
Nessun Dorma, and she's singing it in her bluesy,
You're
gospely,
bluesy.
gritty way, but it's one of the most memorable performances because it was
Yeah.
authentically her, but she still was
Yeah.
open to trying to do something different. So it's my mantra, even what I do at the university or at a school level, it's what I try to do. So my choir here at Bowie State University, they may sing something that's Haitian or African. They're going to sing
Mhm.
something in German, but then they're going to sing a Motown review, or they may sing a gospel song, or they
That's
may
right.
sing that's actually
That's
like
right.
familiar of, like I said, mainstream pop.
Right.
Just because I want them to be able to, like I said, once they walk out the doors of academia,
They're able
just
to.
yeah.
And the thing about and Brandon, I'm so glad that you said that because a lot of the things that we were taught at Howard too, and we say it sticks with us because we actually use it every day in practical life. So another thing about exposure, what it does is it makes you comfortable to be around certain tables, and that is what I try to tell, like, people, sometimes you find yourself being a mentor by total act. You don't go out there thinking that you're going to be a mentor, but young people will take to you, or even some older people who are young in their craft,
Hmm.
right? And they'll take to you and they'll ask you a question. They say, listen, come out and let's just do this golf tournament. Oh no, I never done it. I never. I say, listen. That's fine. There's always going to be a first time, not for everything. Something shouldn't be a first time for, right? Like, we can name a few. There shouldn't be a first time for heroin or, the C word, right? But, but what I'm saying is, so I tell them, listen, come out, because a lot of the deals, yes, they're done over Zoom. A lot of the deals, but a lot of the finish up of the deals happens, say, on the course. Could be squash. It could be the golf course. But when you are there and you have that exposure before, when you have an opportunity, you won't shy away from the opportunity because you won't feel misplaced. And when you go, you won't feel as uncomfortable because energy reads. People read your energy. And sometimes you can lose a deal because you seem so much of a fish out of water, right? So, and this is something, and as you know, like, I like to think about certain principles and see if they apply across different aspects of life. That's how I know that a principle is definitely true, right? Like, if it can be actually used against. And it's the same thing with the arts. When you're exposed to a broad variety, right, and you can understand, with your senses, how the different sounds, and then you get interested in the music history and the culture, right? You can see the cross pollination, and that's why a lot of these hits, like, even say Beyonce's hits, not the country one, but some of her hits. So I listen to some Brazilian music, and I'm thinking, I know that song was Beyonce's song was inspired by the drum beat in this song, which was over
Yep.
50 years ago. So you can tell that she was actually doing her homework because you can hear the influence. Now, people who just listen to Beyonce would probably just say, "Oh my God, that was a great song. It was wonderful," but not knowing that it was actually, something that she listened to before, and she was actually inspired to put that in her music, right? So the cross pollination is very good. It makes you a better artist. And why not? My thing is, if you love the music, you don't just love the one music. You love what music is. You love what it does, and you love the vibration of it, right? So you would be called to listen to different things to enlarge in your palette, right? So it's the same thing with exposure. Sorry, I said a lot
No,
there. I know, but I'm very passionate about exposure, and that's why I started this channel here too, Brandon, right? Because a lot of our people, and they have great ideas, right? And they're good people. And I know that these are people who, if they have the power, you can trust them with the power, right? Because, some people, you meet them and
wow.
you know that you, God help them, please don't give this person power or riches, because you know what I mean? You can't trust
Yep.
them, they're gonna use it for bad. But a lot of these people, like, they want to start their businesses, they have the entrepreneurial mind, but life and time and stuff like that. So that's why I wanted to do this, to expose them. Sorry for
No, I'm
rambling
gonna just
on,
say
but
one little thing about that, and that it deals with your heart and your heart being open and willing to try to
yeah,
embrace new things and new cultures. And so I have the beatitude, or I call it the Felder attitude of blessed are the flexible, for they'll never be bent out of shape. And so, um,
that's
so for
that's
me,
right.
I've also, you bring up Beyonce, but I have been fortunate to serve on the board for the Grammys here in Washington D.C. for a few terms. I'm currently off of
Yeah,
that board right now, but I still serve with the education program, and so I've had the pleasure to attend the Grammys a few times, and so it's one of those
yes,
interesting things where I tell my students here, and that they're like, "Oh my gosh, what was it like?" And I asked them the question of Julia. I asked them, "Did you watch the Grammys?" And they'll say, "Well, yeah, we watched it." I said, "Did you watch the entire show?" And they're gonna say,
right,
"Well, I only watched when my favorite artist performed." So you
right,
so you didn't watch the country. And
right.
so I tell them that if they can't necessarily be a good model of watching and viewing that in that space, what would happen if you're actually
Right.
at the actual award show? And I bring up country because there was an interesting thing. The one year that I went, they honored Dolly Parton, and was interesting.
Dolly
The
Parton,
interesting
yeah,
thing about it was at that time, um, every it seemed like the majority of the audience there ended up using it to be their
yeah.
bathroom break, which was unfortunate.
Say again. I'm losing your sound
Okay, can you
quality
hear me
again.
now?
Yeah, I
I
can.
said the
Say
sad
that
part
again
was
though.
when she was honored and they did a tribute for her, the majority of the
Yeah,
audience at the Grammys left out and used that as their bathroom break because they, and I said, well, you can't view that music as less than. You are here,
that is so rude. That
you're
is
here to have
very
an
rude and disrespectful.
experience and to be
Yeah,
able to embrace it all. And like I said, everybody has their preferences and things are subjective. But if
right.
you're in the space, immerse yourself in all of it.
And not only that, but Brandon, come on, come on. Like they could have done better than that. You know how I am about that etiquette and stuff like that. Like honestly, even if she's not your cup of tea,
Sure.
even if you
Yep.
don't like her, she's
Yep.
getting recognized, and you're
Yep.
here for her to be recognized. That's better
Yep.
actually,
Correct.
right? You're here. You can sit and watch the lady get her perform, especially after. And you may not like her, but you have to respect her. Look at what she has done in the music industry, especially
Well,
for
and the
country music.
irony of the
People are just,
and the irony
I
of
don't
it
know.
now is, like you said,
It's
with
yeah.
Beyonce, her approach has now been on the countryside. So it's the more things kind of musically change, the more they really do remain the same.
You know what? I'm finding that in a lot of arts as well. And that's why we have to really, really cherish the ones that are genuine with their actual heart, right? And authentic
Ab-
with their craft. And you can't fake. That's what I was saying the other day, Brandon. I was talking about another book. It wasn't last week. I think it was the week before. You can't fake certain things. You can't fake performance because it takes actual practice. You can't fake. There are a lot of things you can't fake. History. You can't fake it. It happened,
Right.
right? So you can't fake study as well, and you can't fake the love of the music. And that's why I find that the people who are at the top of their game, whatever game it is, because I like to study success and successful people. The people who are at the top of their game, they're students of their craft. They're students. They're everlasting students because they always want to learn. They always want another insight, and it makes their performance or their creation richer. For instance, okay, but this is a bit of off script. You know about Vibes Cartel. You know the song "Summertime." I think I told you about the
Hmm.
song "Summertime." Brandon, the other day, because I love to when I listen to music, I kind of pick it apart. Not only the lyrics, but I listen to the instrumentals and how everything comes together,
Right.
right? The other day, it was in my playlist, but it was further down my playlist, and I was having a long drive, and it came on "Summertime." The instrumentals in that song, right? The piano instrumentals in that song. I think a lot of people don't realize because it's such a fun song, and everybody come on, it's in the summertime. It's such a nice beat and everything, right? And he's so lyrically just gorgeous in that song. But if you listen to music that way and block everything else out and listen to the instrumentals, Brandon, it's a genius song. It's a genius song to the point where I was thinking I need to go back and look and see who is responsible for the piano chord in that song. And now everybody who is listening, you guys know Vibes Cartel. Go back and listen to "Summertime," but don't listen to the words. Don't listen to the other instruments. Listen to the piano riff in that. That song is like it's fantastic, Brandon. And I'm gonna challenge you, Brandon, to listen to it again. Okay? I want to hear you come back and say to me, Julia. I'm gonna
I
hold
know
you
you
to it.
will.
Okay, that's right. Okay, next question, because we can talk forever. You studied Valerie Capper's Portraits in Jazz and turned it into your own curated statement. What drew you to that work, and how did it shape your approach to composition?
So I was fortunate maybe about a week and a half ago.
We're losing you again. Why are you so
Is that
low? I don't
odd?
like your
That's
mic.
odd.
No, it's not better.
Let's see. Let's see. I don't know why that's happening.
That I don't know. Aren't you close? Are
I
you close
am.
enough to
I
it?
am. That's just odd.
Okay, that's just odd. Maybe you try your computer mic and see if that's better. We have to be able to hear
Huh.
you. The irony, the music teacher,
Ha!
we have no sound.
Oh my goodness. That's odd that it's doing that.
Can it turn up? Can you like turn your volume
I
up?
have. I'm trying to figure out why.
Let me say hi to people in the meantime while you do that. Hi, Success Over Hype. Hello, sis. Brandon Music Review Show. Thank you so much for coming. Welcome anytime. Rick Storm, my bro, big up. Joey Leisure, big up. Instagram. Hi, everybody. Hi, Pre-Chief. Hi, Bear Starters. Hi, Melena Gerard. And hi, Black Bear Lover and Photo Fish Restaurant. Hi, guys. Proto Fish Restaurant. Listen, TikTok, I have to tell the TikTok audience again. Restream is not working for TikTok. So both channels are down right now. I know I got some texts. Some of you have to come over on Instagram or through the YouTube. Sorry about that. I'll post the small clips, but I had to like just roll with the punches, right? As we say, one monkey or two monkeys can't stop one show. So yeah, Restream is not working with TikTok. So sorry about that. Nothing I can do about that right now. It was working up to last night. So what are you doing, Brandon? Okay, so now you have to turn the other one off.
Is
That's
that
let
better?
me hear you
Okay.
there.
All right. And I
But
didn't.
then how are we gonna hear you when you play the piano for us?
I've
How are you
got
gonna
that.
sound?
Don't worry about that. That's fine.
Okay, I won't worry. Okay, if you
Okay.
tell me not to worry, I will not worry.
So this so
Oh
so this right here is
yeah,
Valerie Capers Portraits in Jazz. It's
yeah,
actually, let me if you can kind of see, like, it's handwritten music.
yeah,
And I actually had a chance last week to kind of utilize some of these pieces that I learned at Howard,
yeah,
from my music teacher there, my piano teacher there. And the reason that I kind of chose that was, unfortunately and sadly, sometimes the voice of female composers gets lost in a
yes,
form of mainstream. Yes, we have Beyonce. Yes, we have Aretha and others and Madonna. Yes, sure. But unfortunately, sometimes the voice of our female composers gets lost. So
yes.
this piece of work, it had about 10 or 11 jazz pieces in it. And the great thing about it was, like I said, I came from the knowledge that I learned from this almost 15, 20 years ago, and was able to kind of approach this in a different way now with life after,
Yeah.
and your music and your art continues to change totally different as life hits you.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
so, you kind of can play a song about Billie Holiday a little different when you have two or three children, and you can
Yeah.
play a song about, Duke Ellington or Dizzy Gillespie in a totally different way when you've, had to deal with.
When you have to deal with death and tragedy and
Exactly.
loss, especially Billie Holiday.
Yep.
And you're right because the experience that you have
Hmm.
shapes what the input, like the information that you receive.
Correct.
So,
Correct.
and how does that work across? And if it's true, remember, Brandon, if it's true, that means it's true across the board. Now, when you are you read a certain book, you may not get everything. When you have certain experiences and you read that same chapter, there's a different meaning in there for you,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Same thing that what you were talking about, right? But I like the fact that you also said that a lot of the female composers, yes, there's not much shine on them, and we find that across industries as well. And you know what? Across musical genres as well, because or dancehall and reggae is the same,
Hmm.
right? It's the same. So um,
Yep.
that's why
Yeah.
I'm always advocating for women to talk up, show up, and hold your space, right? Right?
Absolutely.
And if they don't want to give you a seat at the table, make your own table, and other people will join you. You don't have to be at their table. Anyhow, continue. I'm listening to you.
So no, I know. And like I said, it was based off of this book, and like I said, it's like any book that you read. If you go back to it 15 years later, 20 years later, you're going to have a different interpretation, you're going to have a different expression. And so I was able to use this. And like I said, last week here in Maryland, there was a art exhibit where a female visual artist created these jazz portraits, which were actually placed here in the National Harbor here in right outside of Greater Washington D.C. And then, like I said, I used the music of Valerie Capers, and then I kind of, added some
You tied it
different
in.
arrangements. Yeah, and just incorporating that way. So it just kind of also made a full circle moment, like I said, so that, female artists and female composers who can sometimes be marginalized are spoken up for.
Right. And this is the thing too. And that's why too, Brandon, like I'm very passionate about that.
Hmm.
But that's why I encourage our men, be advocates for us. Like we need you guys. Like it's not a man against woman thing. Like we actually do need each other and we actually
Yes.
do need you, right? And so that's why I encourage them and I say, listen, no, give women credit where it's due. That is how you're being an ally to us. Don't just have us on your platform. Don't just have us around like helping because we give that life force of helping and we good women will actually shine the mirror of what you're doing to you as well as help you with moral support and be that life support. But a lot of times I don't think our men know how important they are in advocating for us. And that's why I always tell them, like, listen, guys, we need you, right? And if you do appreciate us, show us that you appreciate us. Because, we do feel under appreciated and underheard, underseen, but a lot of us, just say, okay, well, I guess that's just how the industry is. That's just how it is. But we shouldn't accept it that way, and we don't have to. So we do need allies in everything that we are doing. Brandon,
And
I'm hearing a feedback from you.
oh, you said you're hearing
Two
feedback?
things. Yeah, is there two things playing? What's playing?
No, no,
No, you're not on your computer and your phone.
no. But I turned the computer off.
Okay, is your phone near? Okay, you turned your computer off.
Yes.
What's near your phone? Is there a mic near your phone?
No, no.
No.
You
Okay.
still hear it?
Well,
You still hear feedback?
yeah, like I hear like a little talk
What
anyway.
about now?
Let's see. Say again.
Is it? What about now?
That's a little bit better, but it's okay. Just let it. It's okay.
Okay.
All right. So from Ella Fitzgerald, one of my favorites, to Aretha Franklin, to Billie Holiday, one of my favorites. What's it like honoring these icons through your own creative interpretations? Like, how do you balance giving them a tribute as well as your own originality? Like giving them a tribute, but keeping it the Brandon Felder way. You know what I mean? Like, how do you balance that?
And that's like a pretty straightforward for me. My mindset is to either create the art to be exactly like what they have done, or to completely change the art to an entire different abstract portion. So, like for me, it'll either be exactly like I said, um, um,
Aretha's or Billy's
Aretha's,
or
Aretha's,
Ella's, yeah,
yeah, Chain of Fools, or I may just completely just change the
change it.
entire,
And just say
change
it
the
was
rhythm of it.
inspired by.
Correct, but
Right.
still, of course, giving credit to, yes, where the art has come from. So that's basically how it's either going to be authentically to it exactly, or it's going to be a demarcation of that.
Okay. One of the music lovers and my brother and friend, Merkaba, says that the sound glitch is coming from my side. So I
Okay,
apologize, Brandon.
no problem,
That's
no problem,
me.
no
Sorry,
problem.
guys. Yeah, so it wasn't you this time, Brandon. All right. You've led music programs from public schools to prestigious universities. What advice do you have for aspiring musicians navigating the academic and the performance worlds at the same time? This one is a nice one.
It's
It's a Julia question.
it's terrible because you're acting like I already know the answer to this.
I
Um
know because we had to do that too when we were performing, and we had to be balancing balancing stage as well as performing and getting into a union. Anyhow, continue. I'm listening to you.
But I think part of it is just, being okay knowing that you don't have all the answers. Um,
Yeah,
and so you just kind of made mention of it earlier, like what you said about empowering and validating and holding space. So I tell everyone to find your voice. And when I say find your voice, it doesn't necessarily mean your singing voice. It doesn't mean like, yeah, you're singing in the shower voice or you're singing in the car voice. I'm saying, what is it that matters to you? What is it that is of value to you, to make your art or to make your education or to make your purpose? And I'm at this stage in 40 plus at this point in my life of recognizing that although music is what I do, it is not all of who I am. And so it's very important to find those other things that help to charge your creativity.
exactly. And
Um,
that was actually in one of our books that we were reading a couple weeks ago about
mhm.
sharpening the saw. You have to have other things. And you know what? Every creative thing actually helps the other creative thing. You know, I love swimming. I can't stay out of the pool. I'm a mermaid for life. I'll always be a mermaid. Right? But some of my best, Imatop says his speaker needs to turn down a little to avoid the feedback. Maybe your speaker needs to turn on a little bit. But that creativity, right? And that creativity feeds my writing, right? It feeds all the other artistic things that I do that a lot of people don't know that I do, right? On this channel, right? So the cross pollination and the creativity itself, right? It actually helps. But your life, pay attention to life, and that's one of the things too that we learned too with theater. You have to go out there and live. You have to have these experiences of these emotions, right? In order to
Mhm.
have that palette to be able to bring across that emotion and also to be able to understand and empathize with other people, right? You do have to live. And the same thing with writers too. Like if you're in a cocoon and you're just reading and not actually living and experiencing, you can see the result in the writing. You can see the result in the work, right? That you haven't really lived or you haven't really experienced because it's kind of shallow and it's not pulling anything out of me. That's why to this day, Forrest Gump is one of my favorite movies because that movie, it makes me laugh, it makes me cry, it makes me upset. And Fried Green Tomatoes, that's another one of my favorite movies because I go through the whole range of emotion through that movie. And people would say, Julia, what do you like this movie? It's so old time. That's true, but it's what it does to me. And because of the fact that we are artistic and we're artsy, Brandon, we watch movies differently and we listen to music differently. Remember, we were just talking about Summertime from Vibes Cartel. You pick it apart, you listen to the instrumentals. It's like genius, right? Same thing when I'm watching a movie, I'm looking at costume, I'm looking at continuity. I'm thinking, how is this from the 15th century and he has a button on? Right? How does he have a zipper going on right now? And this is supposed to be from the 15th century. So you look at different things because you've been exposed to different things. So you know what I mean? So you're able to see all those things. Are you still with us? You good? You're not getting bored?
No, yeah, I mean, I think, like you said, you got to me before. Like some people, it's the water. Some people, it can be literally working out. It can be some level of comedy, or sometimes it could even be journaling or creating art for the sake of art, not with it being tied to
Right.
a finished product or even a dollar sign that's connected to it. Like
Right.
for me, over the last 8 to 10 years, I've really enjoyed working out and I've enjoyed running. And so
Yeah,
for
I know.
me, for me, running a couple of half marathons has helped me to kind of at least silence some of the creativity because all the creativity that we get is not
Yeah.
always the greatest. And sometimes we just
Yes.
need that moment of silence and
Yeah.
rest.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. And the creative, just for creative, like this necklace here I made. You know, I love my stones, my gemstones. This is Amazonite and this is a pearl. Like I made this. This I wired this crown as well. So like I
beautiful.
make this jewelry and people always say, why don't you sell it? It's so beautiful. but I make it for the people in my family. For Christmas, I'll get something, but I
Right.
do it on my own terms and on my own time. When I just want some quiet and say I don't want to read right now. I don't want to read. I've been reading a lot. I just want to make this jewelry and just make it for myself. And knowing that it's actually helping me because the stones have their own frequency. I'm big into amethyst and the
Hmm.
stones and vibration. Everything is vibration for me. Okay.
Yes, indeed.
Next question. La, 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 la. I'm gonna skip that one. What lessons have you learned from teaching that you didn't expect, and how has you, Brandon Felder, as an artist?
The biggest lesson, I guess, um, it's ironically, it's not what you teach. It's really in the level of authenticity, and what's in your heart, and how you teach it. Because one thing that I have kind of really recognized is that, and I know it's the most cliche thing of, students don't care what you know; they just want to know that you care. But that's an absolute truth.
Yeah,
Um, and so for me, I have it has kept me grounded. Like I said, the one thing about teaching is it keeps me grounded. Like there have been times where I have actually taken off of work on one day to play for a president,
yeah,
or at the White House,
yeah,
or somewhere, like I said, at a senator's home or anything of that nature. But
yeah.
then the very next day, I'm back in the classroom like nothing else has happened,
Right. Yeah,
or
I know the feeling. I know.
I'm doing traffic duty at a school, making sure that the buses go in correctly. And part of it for me is it kind of keeps me grounded, because these our students don't necessarily, like, they're grateful that you're doing all that, but that's not really,
That's not what
they
it's
don't care
about.
about. They
No,
don't
but
care
but
about that. They want to make sure that you have, I call it, like, a presence about you that lets them
right.
know that there is a safe space.
Safe
What
space. And you know what? The teachers who made that impact on us too at Howard had the same that grain of truth where the humility. I know you call it keep you grounded, but it keeps you humble, right? So you'd have some professors that will come, especially my postgrad, when I did my postgrad up here at Humber, right?
Mhm.
Like they'll come and, oh, they did this ad and that ad, because I did advertising copywriting at Humber. So that this ad and that, it's like we don't care. Like we care what you're going to teach us and how you're going to teach us, right? Like we don't care about your past glory, your past shine, but with we do care. I mean, it shows that okay, yeah, you've been through this, but that should not be the highlight of us having being here in your classroom talking about you and all the great things that you've done, right? So
Yeah.
that we're
And
talking about is keeping you humble as a professor. Go ahead, I'm listening to
no, I
you.
mean, like I said, and it's kind of summed up in the way of, like, be humble, because there was a whole lot that's been done before you even came on the scene.
Right,
Like there's a
right,
whole lot that's been done before you got here. So like
right.
that really is like, like they could care less that I was at the Grammys. It's just okay. How is this going to help me to become a better
Better
role
student
model?
or better or learn exactly. No, exactly
Yeah.
right. Exactly right.
So that's I think
Yeah,
that's I think that's the biggest lesson that I've learned and tried to exhibit.
yeah. So you served as a musical director in Croatia for Black History Month. What did that experience teach you about the global power of our Black music?
So that was an incredible experience, and the main thing about that I remember, myself and this incredible singer, her name was Mary Milben, who's actually incredible on the musical theater side. We went over to Croatia and did a couple of concerts, and for the ambassador, the United States ambassador in Croatia, and we actually had a band of musicians that was set from Zagreb, Croatia, that performed there. I had to send 25 songs via sheet music to them maybe about 2 weeks prior to us going there.
Are you kidding me?
But
25 songs?
the musicians did not speak English at all. not a
Okay.
word of English. So, and I read their bios and saw some videos before I got there, but had no idea what it was going to sound like.
Right.
We got in for the rehearsal the day before. I'm sorry, actually, I'm sorry. And that was a scary thing about it. It was the concert was the same day that we got there.
Hmm.
When we did the rehearsal, all I said was one, two, three, four, and they did not miss one beat.
You know why? Because
And I
music is a universal language, Brandon. You don't have to
absolutely,
speak English to know how to read notes.
but my jaw dropped. My heart was just racing because we say that it's universal, but to kind of see it in that moment,
Yeah.
I think, like I said, 25 songs. I think we made four mistakes throughout the entire hour and a half concert. It was one of the highlights of my life just to be able um, to do that with those individuals, and then on top of that,
Yeah.
um, you had a few, like I said, folks that spoke English and were American, but everyone having that power of music in that space, it was incredible.
But what makes it more incredible for me is the fact that that feeling of being able of knowing we can't communicate through words, but we are communicating through the beats and through the instructions, right? And through
Yes,
the music.
it was
So
so-
that itself must have been exhilarating, right? Whereas, go ahead. You look like you want to say something.
and that was the other part about it. It was about 25 songs that included everything
Yeah.
from Lift Every Voice and Sing to Ella Fitzgerald to, even, I know it's Black History, Frank Sinatra,
Frank
to
Sinatra. Yeah. Yeah, I know.
to all of these different styles,
Yeah.
to gospel, to patriotic, to, and like I said, it did not matter the style or genre. We were all in sync.
You are all in sync on the same page.
Yeah.
That's what music does. And that's the thing. That's why I love music, Brandon. Like it has that power to connect us across all languages. The other day I was on the plane and I was listening to, what was I listening to? Some what's her name? This French artist, right? A guy was beside me on the plane. He was coming from Montreal. He was
Mm.
hearing it through my headphones. And he heard it and he started, and he started talking to me in French, like really fast. And I said, actually, I speak English. And he goes, listen to, because he spoke English. So he said, you listen to it? I said, yes, I know. I listen. And I showed him all. So he's like, you know that? It's like it has the power to connect us. It's its own language. It's its own language. And
Yeah.
that's why, like it's so powerful to me. And it's a language to even to yourself. Because if you're in a bad mood, listen to something. It changes your vibration. It changes the talk that you're talking to yourself. It changes everything. It's so powerful. It's just so powerful. That's why I'm take it so seriously. Um, but I just can't
Yeah.
imagine being in that space where we know that we can't communicate. And you know what that's like when when you have a play or so, like I always have the lead roles and stuff like that. When you're in a play and you know that, okay, I do not get along with this person outside of this space.
Right.
But
Right.
when we're there on stage, right? It's like it's a brand new relationship, a brand new person, a different type of communication. And that's how you're able to respect someone even if you don't like them. And you can respect their work, respect who they are, respect how they show up, right? And you wish that, man, I wish that you could take that character and live it so I could actually like you in real life. But the communication through the art, right? It's just that's why silence is so beautiful.
Yep.
Okay, let's keep going. So, you've been honored by the Grammy Recording Academy. You've been honored by the Billboard charts. You've been honored by NAM and more. What's one award or moment that truly, truly surprised you, Brandon?
So it's actually, let's see, do I have it here? It's actually not, it was surprising, but remember we talked about that being grounded kind of component.
Yeah.
Um, like I don't do this for awards, but here I'm the director of vocal studies or choral studies here at Bowie State University, and
Right.
so 2 years ago I received an award from the dean here, and it was called the I'm actually gonna pull it up, Early Career Faculty Award. Hold on one second.
Really?
And so it's
See
right
it?
here.
Oh, it looks nice too. Nice. I love
So
that.
outstanding early career faculty award. So I felt really good
Nice.
about this. This was about 2 years ago. So the irony of it, feeling
Yeah.
good about myself, I brought it home, and my
Yeah.
oldest daughter, who will be 14, said, "Daddy, this award is not true. It says early career faculty. You're middle aged," and so that was so it's that moment where
Yeah. Where
they
it
keep you
humbles
grounded.
you.
They keep you
Right.
grounded.
Like
They keep you humble.
even sometimes when we talk, right? And you talk about your children, I'm thinking, my God, like so much time has passed, Brandon.
Right.
I remember when your wife was pregnant. I remember before you were married. I remember when you got married. I remember when your wife was pregnant.
Right.
I remember, and then now they're actually like human beings with their own minds and their own way and their own arts. And it's just like, my
So
God, so
yeah, and
much.
I'm feeling good about myself. And she's like, "No, you're middle aged." I was like,
Yeah.
"Right, thanks. It's your
Just let her
own."
know that though Auntie Julia went to school with you, I'm like 20 years younger than you. So, right?
Exactly.
Just let her know. Just make
Exactly.
sure she knows that,
The
yeah,
younger, more beautiful, prettier person. I got it. Yes.
exactly, right? Like Auntie Julia did go to school with you, but I was like 20 years behind in the same class. All right, so all
But the fact that they
right,
say early, it also just kind of makes you push to continue to work, towards what's
yeah,
next. So, but again, I kind of do it without, like, and it's very odd. I try not to put awards up because
yeah,
sometimes
me too.
it's the enemy of potential of success. So
Exactly.
when you have a successful moment, you kind of get stuck there.
Yeah. No, I don't put up my awards too. Like I have my Humber advertising copywriting up there. I have some other awards that I got like for writing and stuff, but I don't put it up because you know what? I got it. I'm grateful.
Hmm.
Move on. And what's the next thing?
Yep.
It's like looking at the next thing. And then not only that, but that was back then. Like I still have more to accomplish and more to do right
Absolutely.
now. And I mean, the award is I'm grateful for it.
And
Awards
congratulations
committee
to
from
you for
everywhere
that.
else. Right. Just let me just put that caveat out there. Awards committee, I'm very, very, very grateful for it. But it can't define us, especially as we're still as we still create, right?
Yep.
And because that's to me, that's when you really become a has-been. Those people that come and they're always talking about their great, back in the day thing, that to me is has-been. Like, what are you still doing right now? How are you improving? Even if you never get another award in your life,
Right.
like what are you
Right.
creating, right? And the awards also, we have to keep in mind that yes, they're great, they're man given too, right? So I think a lot of the awards that you probably love are the ones that you've given to yourself, Brandon. Like knowing the mountain that you've climbed to actually be who you are right now, right? You listen to me?
Absolutely.
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 Good.
And I think sometimes it's awards that kind of relate to others. So, um,
Yeah.
my school received a Grammy in the school nomination, and then the local chapter of the Grammys ended up giving us a recognition and a grant, um, so about maybe 10 years ago or so. But the reason why that is so important, it has nothing to do with me.
Right.
There was a student in my music program who was tragically murdered from the one to the other. And so part of that award was not necessarily for us, it was really for them and their family. And
Right.
so
Right.
we created a whole awards program where we honored that family. So that's
Wow.
kind of really what it's about. It's
Yeah.
not about you. It's about, like I said, moving
It's
it forward.
about what it right. Yeah, right. No, I understand. I understand that. I definitely understand that. But like I get the awards and I'm grateful. I look at them and then I put them away. Like I have drawers full of them because I'm not,
Hmm.
I'm still developing, still moving. Okay.
That's what we do.
But I do sometimes I look at a couple of like swim medals and I'm like, damn, I was faster, so fast. Sometimes. All right, so you've performed for presidents and world leaders. How do you prepare emotionally and musically for moments that carry that kind of weight? Kind of like before you go on stage at the theater.
Um, it's for me. It's practice does not make perfect, but practice helps to make permanent in terms of how you approach it. If you don't get nervous, even at this stage of whatever we're doing
Something's
artistically,
wrong.
so yeah, and so for me, I try to what we call our dress rehearsal. I kind of go as hard as I would go in the performance,
Yeah.
and then that way you kind of work out the. And I hate to use the word mistakes because I think that it's all actualized. You can act out the same monologue 3 times. Each time is going to be different. It's
That's
not going to
right.
be the same
That's
way.
right.
If I play the same song, it should not sound the
It should
same
not
each
sound the
and every
same.
time. So they're not necessarily mistakes. Those are imprints. Those are
Yeah. Imprints.
indentations of, like I
Yeah.
said, of your fingerprint. So that kind of helps me to kind of, like I said, kind of stand in, like what we said, your own enoughness, your own space.
Yes. Yes.
Remember I was talking
Yes.
about just finding your voice, and so just knowing that you are enough. Like sometimes we get so nervous
Yeah.
in those spaces, but I've kind of at this big old age now kind of been in the space of, if they've asked me to perform and do this, that means that there's some level of trust. So
This exactly. Exactly.
I need to be able to just stand strong, and I'm supposed to be in this room, and I'm grateful to God,
Right.
I'm grateful to the universe that He's allowed this to come.
Right. And I use it as alchemy. I alchemize that energy. So that nervousness, it actually propels me forward to actually have a
Hmm.
great performance. But going back to one of our very great professors that passed, Professor Selman, he actually taught me no, not mistakes. He said to me, "Oh, Julia, that's a happy accident." And I was like, "That
Hmm.
sounds nice.
Hmm.
I like that. A happy accident, not a mistake." But you know what? And that's another book we're going to talk about too when we get back to the books, which will be next week, people. We have to look at mistakes differently. People don't like to use that word because it sounds like a blunder judgment, right, of something not being accurate or not being perfect. But a lot of happy accidents came from mistakes,
Right.
right? Champagne actually was made from a mistake. That's another story. But most of the best creative things came from a mistake, right? They
Hmm.
come from a mistake. Okay, so I know you want to play something for us. You
Absolutely.
play us
Absolutely.
something, but let me tell the people first, guys. I was supposed to be using a breathalyzer today, and but my body doesn't feel for alcohol today. I had drinks, as you know, with our yoga practitioner on Wednesday. So I had two standard drinks then. So now I'm just drinking lemonade, but we're still going to talk about the breathalyzers because we're still tying it in. But I just couldn't drink any alcohol today. My body does not feel for it. All right, Brandon. So let's see. And I'm going to open the floor afterwards so that people can come up and ask you any questions. Now, Brandon, I know that you have to be mindful of a lot of things. So if there's any question that anybody asks that you feel like you don't you should not answer professionally, that's no problem. They'll understand. But let's see if you still got the magic fingers, Mr.
So,
Felder. Let's see.
so yeah, I
So
am.
long. Well, when
What
was
did
the
we
last time
say?
you played for me?
What was I gonna say? So remember, I said music is the art of organized sound and silence, and so
Yes.
sometimes with art and music, we see images, we see shapes, we see messages or stories, or sometimes we see color. I've got on this blue to kind of
Yes, for me.
represent the blue fire of Miss Julia.
That's right.
And so I'm gonna kind of do kind of like that, kind of that symmetry, what you were sharing about um, that cross pollination. So a little bit of something old, a little bit of something new, and a little song for you called Blue Fire.
Really? You made a song for me called Blue Fire?
Blue Fire. Are you You ready?
Oh my goodness. Oh, but this is okay. Hold on. So this is worth the 10 years that you haven't paid for me since that time. We'll be quiet. This sounds blue fire. Okay, go ahead. Let's hear these
Okay.
magic fingers.
Here we go.
Bravo.
Something like that.
Bravo, bravo. Bravo, Brandon. Thank you so much. That's Brandon. You better save those notes now. That's my song now. That's for me. Right?
Duly noted. Miss
Duly
Blue
noted.
Fire. Yes.
Thank you so much, Brandon. I loved it. I love it. It's beautiful. You started off with Fur Elise. I loved it. And then you made it into
Yes.
your own. I
But
love
yeah,
it.
that was just an example of like what we were talking about, how
Yeah.
you use and create. So
Thank you
thank
so
you.
much. So that sounded like the color blue to you.
Just a little, yeah, just and so sometimes we think of blue as like the blues, but it doesn't necessarily have to.
Right.
And sometimes it can also be a kind of a space of, like I said, it just depends on what it relates to you and how you interpret it. Again, finding your voice within.
Thank you so much, Brandon. That was beautiful. And it
My
was
pleasure.
definitely worth the 10 years. It's been more than 10 years that
It's
you paid for me last.
it's
It's
been a
definitely
while.
worth the 10 years.
It's been a while. It's been a while. It's
It's
been a
been a
while.
while, buddy. It's been a while. But you know what? I mean, friendship is so beautiful, you know?
Absolutely.
It's
Yes.
so beautiful, Brandon. Like we've been through so many different stages and seen each other go through different stages. Remembering who we were to each other at Howard, like you're just good
Yes.
friends, artistically, respect each other. Seeing
Yes.
you get married, have children, seeing Brandon become the father, the husband, right? And just seeing the different things, but the soul of Brandon, that person, has remained the same. The soul of you has remained that essence, right?
And the
And I just want
authenticity
to
of you as well.
thank you so much. And I just want to tell you that I'm proud of you as my friend, and I'm proud to know you as my friend, and I'm here for the journey. So bless you so much. And thank you for my song. And make
And the
sure whenever
feeling is
you play
mutual.
that song, you tell them it was for Miss Blue Fire. They should know who I am if they went to Howard. So even though I'm not drinking, I have to give a shout out to my company who are making a real life difference in how we celebrate and stay safe, especially at events where music, creativity, and community comes together. I'm proud to speak about our single-use breathalyzers, simple, discreet tool that helps you to check your breath alcohol content in real time. So whether you're at a concert, whether you're at a private party, whether you're just out with friends, it's a powerful way to make sure you're in control and making smart decisions before getting behind the wheel. Our breathalyzers are FDA approved, TUV certified. They have a 2-year shelf life, and they're the only product that Mothers Against Drug Driving actually endorses. Um, Use one just for a quick peace of mind. At the end of the day, being responsible is the new cool. And we are here through our company to protect and empower as well. Now, Brandon, As
Hmm.
someone who often leads youth and community events, how important is it for us as leaders to model safe and responsible choices, especially when it comes to alcohol use?
So I go back to, and I keep bringing him up today, Dr. Norris, because one of the opportunities when I was at Howard was being afforded to be a part of the Howard University Choir. And
Mm-hmm,
we did a lot of profile performances,
mm-hmm.
which were political, which were government based, which were um, social. And it was interesting because I appreciated Dr. Norris because he modeled for us a way of
Right.
um, being moderate with the choices that are within you, and recognizing that we were young adults at that time.
Yeah.
Um, and he's like, "I'm not your father. I'm not your, I'm not your guardian.
Yeah.
But you have a moral responsibility to how can I say this? To represent myself and Howard University."
And Howard University.
And so at the time, he said, "Well, I may have a drink or so, but no, I'm not expecting you all to like." Again, there's this level of expectation,
Right.
and it's interesting because I feel like that conversation is like I call it the monkey on my back or the on my shoulder, because I now am a director of a choir here and having those same type of opportunities. So I actually had a student last year. We had a huge event in
Mm-hmm.
Washington D.C. at a hotel, and she had graduated, but she had never had an alcoholic drink.
Oh,
And,
don't start today, honey.
and it just so happened at this event that she had her for, and she came up to me, "Professor, is it okay?" Like literally, and it came up to me, and I'm just like, "I'm okay. I'm that guy now. I'm the old guy here." Um,
Yes, you are.
I was like, "Okay,
You're our Professor Selman now.
right." So and I said, "No, it's fine. You're not you're not driving,
Yeah.
but when we get back to
You
campus,
still
I
have
said,
to well, you still have to represent us.
but yeah, I
You
said,
know
but
what?
when,
No, go
when we
ahead. I'm listening.
when we get back to campus, you're going to have to take your vehicle back home." So no, and
Yeah.
so she said, "Well, I'm just going to try one," and I said, "That's responsible." Because and I said as well, I was like, you are around people that are going to make sure that you are okay. I'm gonna make sure that you are okay. And
Yeah.
so for me, I've kind of found in this space for myself to be, and I hate to use the word role model, but like I said, in a space of, like I said, approachable. Like I may have a drink or a swig, but most times recognizing that I have to be,
Yeah.
it's okay. It's okay to be social. It's a matter of, like I said, what's balance, what's
Everything
boundary,
is balanced.
and
Everything
boundary.
has
Yep.
to be balanced. Everything
And
has
so,
to be balanced,
and that's
right?
been that's been
Mm.
that's been my my element. And so I'll, like I said, call it old fogey or whatever. Like most times, I will probably not have a drink in front of my students.
Right.
That's just my own personal. Like I may have a drink with somebody like backstage or something along those lines, but not necessarily in that
Yeah, because
space.
you have to have the boundaries with your students. You have to have the boundaries very clear and very firm. Especially like people like us, Brandon. We're very warm and open and soft-hearted. Our boundaries have to be ice cold, like
Correct.
ice cold
Correct.
and steel proof, like you know what I mean, bulletproof boundaries. So
And
it keeps
and
us
so
safe, right?
yeah, that was a government experience. Then we did something with the Black Family Cookout this year. There were actors. I can't even share with
Yeah,
you the number of
yeah,
actors,
don't, yeah,
and the alcohol was flowing. And I told the students, I was like, "You can have one, but
right.
like but like I said, and thankfully, we had someone else to drive us there. But the other part about it is what I told them is you want them to invite us back, so we have to be at a space.
Exactly,
You have to be
exactly,
at a space
exactly.
that and it's okay. And like I said, it's okay to be social,
It's okay to be
because
social, but you have to within reason. Everything
because I,
within
I
reason.
challenge I challenge them to network, and I tell them in the same sense, when you network, you have to have your wits about you.
Exactly, because that's when you don't want the problems, right?
Correct.
Actually, Professor Edmonds saved us from so much, right? Professor Edmonds saved us from so much, regardless, and Professor Roberts too. I remember when we did the play for Mumia Abdul Bal.
Yes.
out in Philadelphia, right? And she said that to us. And she said, there are a lot of substances out here, lots of everything out here, but don't forget, you're here for yourselves and you're here for Howard, and agents might be here watching, right?
Yep.
So if we're always, and that's why Howard's such a great school, we're always tasked with remember that we have a standard that we need to uphold as how the real HU,
The only.
the only HU.
But
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. What are
no,
you saying?
just briefly to kind of just say, character and integrity is, being able to do what you're supposed to when someone is watching or when someone is not. That's all I was going to say.
Yeah. No, Invest says I'm going to be the party pooper as I'm a non-drinker. Blessings. No, we're not drinking. I'm drinking some pink lemonade I made.
Got my water.
That's about it. And he's drinking water. I was supposed to test a breathalyzer, but my body doesn't feel for alcohol today.
And so,
Because
and
this
I'll
week I
share,
already
and I'll
had
share
two
for,
candles
and I'm
in.
going to share for me. Like I said, and I'm not necessarily a party pooper, but I am being challenged with some things right now personally. And
Right.
so,
Right.
transparently, and that's the other part about it. I am a Black man in therapy. I'm a Black
Yeah.
man that is, working on, like I said,
Working on yourself.
keeping space for myself. So this week I'm actually in a space of literally turning my plate down, changing my diet
Detoxing.
for a week to kind of also figure out what's next, to also determine what relationships to keep, what's ones to kind of let go of, and sometimes you kind of have to kind of take away and
You need
minimize
that space,
all
mental
of that.
space for that.
Yep.
And you need
So,
that quiet for that. And you need
yep.
that shock to your system of not being
Hmm.
clouded by other things for that. I know we have had those conversations, right?
Correct.
Um,
Correct.
but Brandon, you know what? Your heart is always in a good place. And what I know about you, and that's something that you and I connect on. We actually do the work. Like we actually do the personal thinking
Hmm.
and the personal introspection to actually see what we need to do for the next day, the next move, right? Keeping the best in mind. So I think every time before you go through any of this, you kind of want to, you pressure yourself, you want to make sure that you're making the right decisions, but you always end up making the right decisions, Brandon. So as your friend, without saying anything too much, don't be too hard on yourself because everything that you do from knowing you all these years is from the heart. So whatever you think you're going to do, that's right for you is right for you. And I got your back always.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So we believe our breathalyzers help to normalize safety and remove the stigma around checking yourself. How can the music and arts community help to normalize responsible celebration and responsible checking of themselves?
And I think you just kind of mentioned it. It's the acknowledgement of recognizing, hey, I want to celebrate. I want to be able to do these things, but I have to do it within a level of reason. And in the same sense of like the artist, there is a natural embodiment or a showing of the gift. And I think sometimes, unfortunately, because there's the gift, there's this level of invincibility and
Yeah,
that I can do like, watch me do this, but I don't necessarily have to follow the same rules when that's the
yeah.
furthest when that's the furthest thing from the
Furthest
truth.
thing from the truth.
It's
Yeah,
it's the aspect of like, okay, I love what I do, and as much of a process as it is to be creative, I do need the outlet to unwind, to let go, but
yeah,
I need to also put in some safeguards to make
yeah.
sure that I don't fall out of boundaries.
Right. And you
So
know what? Let me just type that back into Brandon. Oh my God. First of all, when was the last time you went to Baltimore? When was the last time you went to Baltimore?
probably like a week ago.
A week ago?
Hmm.
Okay. Brandon, you know, I look back at how great a teacher Professor Edmonds was. Now that I'm looking at like all that stuff with Cassie and all that stuff with Puff Daddy and stuff, that woman saved me from so much. I remember, and these actors will remain unnamed,
Hmm.
coming to campus, right? And
Yep.
these musicians and
Yep.
inviting us and inviting me because remember I used to model at the time and stuff and do the theater, inviting me and stuff
You know,
to
I
go to
remember.
certain. don't let me, don't let me break my crown. Oh my gosh, right? So and and I was so excited and like I went to Professor Edmonds and I was like Professor Edmonds, look, uh oh, you're gone, Brandon.
Okay, is that better?
What happened to your? There you are.
Okay, sorry.
And I'm like, Professor Edmonds, because I'm so happy. Sitting there like, oh, he wants me to audition and stuff. And she says, Julia, have they seen any of your work? Like she didn't want to minimize what it is, right? But she says, don't go. And I said to her, but like why? I'm prepared. Like I'm prepared. Why would I not want to go? I'm prepared. I have my lines. I have this, I have this song. I'm prepared. And she says, do you trust me? And I say, yes, Professor Edmonds. She says, trust me. Don't go. Every time she has told me that 3 times, those 3 people, right, are, I can see where, you understand? I'm not saying that I would have fell into that trap or anything like that, but it was an unnecessary exposure to the part of the art world that is not really art, right? Especially when I was doing the modeling and stuff. And she was one of the ones who got me to step away from that because remember they wanted to pay for me to straighten my nose, remember? And that was the day that I quit. And I was just like, you know what? And they're like, you'll do so much work, you get so much work. If you do this search, don't worry, we'll pay for it for you and stuff. And and I was so emaciated. I was already sick. I was so skinny that I wasn't even having my menstruation anymore. And they were like, you lose another 5 pounds. And I'm like, no, 6 pounds. And I'm like, that's very specific. How am I going to lose another 6 pounds? I'm already not able to even have my normal bodily functions. And I said, you know what? This is not worth it. And my good friend Kenny, who used to model with us, committed the S word because he was exposed to that part of the industry that is not the art part of the industry. So now when I look back at the Cassie case, and I remember used to seeing them sometimes on the yard. You remember Howard Yard and at the
Homecoming.
Dream and
Homecoming
homecoming.
alone.
I'm talking about homecoming when you used to see them come there at homecoming and like like as models you get to go into like certain parties and stuff like that, and you see the behavior. And now I look back and I'm like, Jesus Christ, God, you have been good to me. Like I have dodged
Mhm.
so many effing bullets just by being able to listen and actually trust the people who were in charge. And that's why it's so important to me, Brandon, and to you too, to make sure that we guide young people and we are actually mentors for them to get them to know. You know what I mean? Like she wasn't holding my hand. She didn't say, "Oh, you absolutely must not go. You absolutely." But she said, "Do you trust me?" I said, "Yes, Professor." And she says, "Yeah,
I'll take it a step further,
yeah,
and
go ahead."
um the Professor Edmonds, the Professor Salmons, the Mark Jolins, the Charles Cowards,
Yes,
James Norris. I don't know if you remember Jimmy Holiday, who did sightseeing.
of course.
We've stood on their shoulders. Remember, I was saying, be humble. There's a whole lot to do before you got there, but we are now them. So it's our responsibility.
Man, I know.
We are
Even though I'm
now,
20 years younger, even though I'm 20 years younger, Brandon.
and I'm saying that in I'm saying that in the sense of
I know. I'm joking. I'm
I'm a
joking.
professor, but you are in a
Yeah, yeah,
place of leadership. You're in a
yeah.
place of influence, and so we are only modeling full circle what we were given
What we were taught.
when we were, yeah, in an impressionable age and an impressionable age, and now we're able to give that to them. So
Yeah, it's full circle. It's full circle. And it actually teaches us the importance of not only being coachable and listening, knowing that you don't know everything,
right.
but it also teaches us how important it is as leaders for us to show up genuinely, show up truthfully, right? And show up consistently. You know what I mean? Like with the consistency, like it's so.
Yeah.
It's so important. Being a real ally is so very important because I have gotten saved, and I know that I would, the way how I was, I wouldn't fall too far because of, pardon me, parents and stuff like that. But she did save me from a lot. Looking now at what's going on, especially in the music industry and stuff like that. And that's why I said, like, even though, like, like I was doing my voice and singing fine, that lifestyle just didn't fit me. Even with modeling, it just didn't fit me. Like, I was good at it, I was great at it, it was popular and stuff like that. But the lifestyle that came along with that art form didn't suit me. It didn't fit me and my
Hmm.
soul at all. So there are other things to do. Okay. Um, your new release, Mosaic Intersections of Sounds. It's Mosaic Intersections of Sound, actually. It sounds like a true labor of love. What stories or themes are you exploring in this volume?
So it's a little bit of a scary journey for me in terms of, if you think of a mosaic, you think of like um, broken
Pieces.
broken pieces of glass, and that they're
Yeah,
all kind of forming together, or just fragments of anything kind of coming together. So
yeah,
the reality is that we are all mosaics in our lives. We've had so many broken pieces, but
yeah,
especially when it's glass, broken glass can either cut you, or it can actually help to magnify what your own vision and journey is. So it's really,
yeah,
the choice is yours.
yeah,
It's a very eclectic journey of me as father, brother, husband, uh, educator, all of these different items of who I am and the
yeah,
styles that have influenced me. So it was definitely part of the brokenness for me. It began in 2020 when
yeah.
my
Your
father
father passed. I remember.
during COVID. So
Yeah,
the way that I um, kind of worked through that was through creating this art form called Mosaic. And so it's about 30 to 40 songs, believe it or not. I'm going to kind of release in different volumes. And that's kind of really what it is, that, it's the representation that I'm a mosaic, you're a mosaic, Julia, Blue Fire. Those that are listening online,
yeah,
we have our own vision. We have our own story, and like the brokenness of all of us, it still is able to say a message. Like my son is 4.5, and he gets funny. It gets funny when I give him a crayon. If the crayon is broken, he doesn't want to use it, but I have to remind him that the crayon is broken, but it still can color. You can still utilize.
yeah.
There's still value and there's still worth in it. So in the
They're still
same
working
sense,
it.
yeah, there's still, like, so this piece has pieces written on behalf of my father, my mother, my
Yeah,
children, everything from rap to classical. We have
yeah.
opera on it. We have a little bit of everything, soul, hip hop, a little bit of everything in there. So it's not like your normal kind of
It's a
um,
mosaic. It has all the different pieces of Brandon Felder.
correct, correct,
Listen, let
correct.
me ask you this. Okay, just off the top, before I open up the floor for anyone to ask you questions, do you want to play a piece from the mosaic, or can you? Or would you rather not? Because it's not coming out yet. It's not out yet.
Uh, Let me see. What
If
can
you
I
don't
play?
want to, that's okay. I'm not
All
about
right, I'll
forcing
play a little bit
anything.
of this jazz. I'll play a little bit of the jazz. It's like
Play
a
a little bit.
jazz.
Play a little bit. Not too much,
Um,
but play a little bit for us.
it's kind of like a jazz gospel kind of ballad. So it goes like this.
You still got it. You still got the magic fingers.
Trying to remember these songs, all
You
30 songs.
still got it, Brandon. You still got it, buddy. You still got it. All right. So, Brandon Felder is more than just a musician. He's a bridge builder between generations, genres, and global communities. His journey reminds us that music is more than sound, it's a soul connection, a legacy, and a gift to be shared. He's not just creating melodies, he's creating moments that linger in the lives of everyone lucky enough to hear them, myself included. To every dreamer listening, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be passionate. Brandon's life proves that consistency, purpose, and heart will open doors that talent alone cannot. Keep going, Brandon. Keep growing, and above all, let the music play. Tell us right now how and where our audience can support your work and your new project.
So the project hopefully will be out later this year. But the easiest way to help and support, you can look me up on YouTube, Brandon Felder, and brandonfelder.com is also the easiest way. Um, and what's it? Instagram at B Jamal Felder. I'm giving you the whole government name, B
Yeah,
Jamal Felder.
write it in the chat, Brandon. Can you see the
I
chat?
can. I'll put it there. Yep.
Yeah, write it in the chat. And listen, Brandon, what was the homework that I gave you to do?
What was the homework? I'm trying
What
to
was the
remember
homework
now.
again? The song that I want you to listen to the instrumentals.
Oh yes, 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 yes. Of the
Brandon,
summertime.
I'm gonna give you 2 days. I'm gonna come back and ask you if you listen to it. Because you can listen to it. Remember, it's the summertime.
I'm
Summertime
trying
by
to.
Vibes Cartel.
Yes.
Listen to the instrumentals, the piano behind that. You are going to love it. Almost sounds like a Scott Joplin, like a little bit of
Ah.
ragtime. Remember ragtime,
Yes.
right? It sounds a little bit of Scott Joplin. It's a little bit of ragtime when you hear that piano riff in it behind from the pool party. It's called
Mm-hmm.
pool party. It's called summertime, but it starts off pool party. I think you put that in the private chat. You should
I'm
have put it
trying.
in the big chat. No, put it in the big chat.
I'm trying to find the link to
Okay,
put
hold
it
on.
in.
Let me see if I can do it for you. Let me see if I can copy and
Yeah,
paste.
if that's the easiest way, honestly, my website, brandonfelder.com.
Wait. I'm still learning this. I don't think I'm really loving Restream. Restream is not really going too good for me. Because even the TikTokers, they're not seeing
Mm.
this, Brandon. So I'm gonna have to share clips.
Okay.
Anyway, everybody, if you want to come up and ask Brandon any questions about his musical journey or about music, please feel free to call in right now. But Brandon, remember, if there's any question at all that you feel like it's best to not answer because of what it is that you're doing, we understand, and that's fine. Play my play my song again. I like it. Play my. I'm like, give me more. Play my song. In the meantime, intermission. Okay, so nobody's calling up. Nobody's calling up. Nobody wants to ask. Sometimes um people feel intimidated to call in because but I know that they're still learning and they're still
Sure,
appreciative, so
sure.
don't feel like as if it means that you were not interesting. You were very interesting.
And
Okay.
you said something. You said something great.
What?
And that close out of being um a bridge builder, like, and sometimes learning that we are bridge builders, recognizing that as being a bridge builder, sometimes we have to unfortunately be walked on in order for people to get to the next to the next
I
space.
love that. I love that. I love
And so
that.
having that heart to serve. So sometimes, like I said, you walk and crawl so that others can run. So being that
Yeah.
bridge builder, like I said, it's I want my students and I want my family and my legacy to be that, people are made better because of, just something that I did. So
Brandon, a lot of people have been made better by a lot of the things that you do. A lot of the things that you do. And I'm just telling you and telling the world as your friend who knows you. Okay, let me ask you this. As creatives, we always have some kind of rituals sometimes, or something that we do before we perform. Do you have any creative rituals or practices that help you to get into flow when you're composing or arranging?
Believe it or
We're
not,
getting
not
the hard questions now because nobody's calling up. So go ahead. Let me hear.
believe it or not, not really.
Not really.
It's
Okay.
for me, it's finding what inspires me in the moment. And so I'm here in my office at the university. And typically when I first came here at Bowie State, like this space here would allow me to be creative. Um, but like lately, and I think maybe because you work and you work and you work, I'm finding creativity in other spaces. So sometimes it just depends. It could be like I love this space because it was open natural lighting at one point, and then that helped me to kind of become creative. And then sometimes there's some places where when you're closed in, you kind of feel like the sound is enclosed within you. You can feel and sense everything. So it just kind of is dependent upon what happens.
I understand. It depends on what happens. You're following the breadcrumbs. Now, let me introduce you to Imhotep. It says Grandmaster Imhotep, 360 degrees. He's who I was talking about before, one of my musical friends, a
Okay.
musical genius in his own right. So I guess he has a question. Welcome, Imhotep, and thank you for calling.
Yeah, man. Big up, Miss Julia. Big up yourself, Brandon Felder. Yeah,
Pleasure.
I've been listening to the conversation. Very interesting, very informative, and big up to the chat as well. For being here. I want to ask you. I'm getting a little feedback. I don't know if somebody's device. I don't know. I'm getting a bad feedback. I don't know why.
Yeah, but it's okay. Continue. We can hear you.
All right. So let me ask. If you were like influenced, because I know in music we all have someone or groups that we were influenced by, right? So I am somewhat of an old soul. So even like TSOP, the Sal Soul Orchestra, mother, father, sister, brother, um, you know, even Nat King Cole, Ray Charles, because they play the piano. You muted, Miss Julia, right? I'm just saying, like, these were groups and individuals that, yeah, I was always impressed. And there's so many more. I can go on and on, but I'm asking you, any of the names I mentioned, were you inspired by any one of them?
Oh, quite a few. Ray Charles was one for sure. Um, Ray Charles, like I said, and I think it was just kind of that level of soul. I'm gonna actually go a little further back because I'm an old soul myself. Um, but like for me, it was Earth, Wind, and Fire, and it was a group when I was growing up called Tower of Power. I don't know if you've heard of them.
Yes, yes, yes.
Those were kind of like the groups that for me. And I say more of Prince, not the artist, when he was kind of in his funk mode.
Right,
Those were kind of like the elements for me, as well
right.
as like Stevie Wonder for sure. Because I just loved, and it's interesting when I was at Howard, I kind of did more of the commercial Stevie, and as I left Howard, I definitely did listen to even more of his younger, the fingertips uptight, like little Stevie. Those were kind of like really those elements that really helped um, to kind of like really draw. And then I grew up like I said, listening because I grew up in a very 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 religious home as well, so a lot of gospel and traditional gospel and things of that nature too. And so yeah, those are definitely, like I said, some of the sounds that help to influence kind of even how I approach vocal music, how I approach even instrumental music, and how I kind of craft and create. I'm kind of like one of those that's kind of a purist in that way. I know there's some that love like to stack the vocals and make them this bigger thing, but I think there's something sometimes the simplicity is really
Mhm.
what's
Yeah.
valuable.
And you know what, Brandon? Imhotep talks about that often, about the simplicity in hooks and the simplicity in certain songs that make it just, such a different banger. And he's also one of us when it comes on to listening to music differently, right? So he will break apart stanzas and break apart the instrumentals as well, right? And he will also know why a song won't work if you listen to him. Talks about music as well. So he's definitely one of us when it comes on to being naturally musically inclined, actually taking the time to actually listen to a broad variety of music. And as he said, he's an old soul too. So I'm very, very happy for him to call. So I'm gonna mute and let him ask you whatever else he wants to ask you.
Right. So I'm happy that you said Earth, Wind, and Fire, right? Because it's a group I always acknowledge and admired. One, I think they expressed and convey their level of consciousness at the time. If you notice, they embrace a lot of quote unquote Egyptian or Kemetic things. But hold on. I think you might need to just mute your mic, Brandon, and then
Yeah,
when
Brandon,
I
mute your mic because I'm getting a
yeah,
feedback too.
right, giving that feedback. So the thing is this now, you mentioned Earth, Wind, and Fire, right? And I'm a big Earth, Wind, and Fire fan. But personally, I think my best Earth, Wind, and Fire is True Devotion, right? And let me tell you why. Because when that song starts off and you hear the melody in the rhythm, the way they did that song for me, you have some songs where it makes you nostalgic, right? Because of the impact. Earth, Wind, and Fire, True Devotion. I know people will love. Do you remember the first night in September? And we can go on and on, right? But True Devotion, that one for me, when you're talking about music and the levels of the quality of the production with that song, that is my favorite Earth, Wind, and Fire. I mean, there's a lot of Earth, Wind, and Fire, no doubt about. Oh, I'm sorry. No, my bad. I'm conflicted between that one and Reasons. Reasons. I think
Yes,
Reasons is
reasons.
the best Earth, Wind, and Fire in my opinion. But you see, when it comes on to devotion, true
Yeah.
devotion, yeah, so I'm conflicted with Reasons, but Reasons, true devotion. But the reason why I mentioned true devotion was that when it starts out and you hear the instruments, oh my gosh, it just hits you. So I just wanted to pick your brain on that, like, what is your favorite Earth, Wind, and Fire?
But Brandon, answer that. Do you see why I say he's like one of like totally passionate? Like we have had such great, delicious conversations about music and about just arts, right? Because he's just like that. Like totally picks apart the music, everything about it. And he was a musician too, before. But anyway, I'll let you answer.
That's a hard one. And the reason, the reason that is a hard one. You see what I did there? Um, I think it's, I, and I think we are listening to it from a fully consumer perspective. Like, oh, the chords and oh, the rhythm and oh, this and the, but it's something about how it's made you feel. Each of these songs with Earth, Wind, and Fire for me, yeah, I call it like the mental marker in our minds. And you remember where you were, you remember how you
Yes.
actually felt. So like that's a hard one for me because I mean, and the hard part is like we have different expect. So I'll give you an example. Like for me, September isn't necessarily one of my favorites, but I'm going to tell you something that happened here at the university. We recreated September for our opening convocation here at the university, and one of my students is a drummer, and she did this huge thing to the point like we couldn't come back from the song, and now everyone is like, oh, are you guys gonna sing September again? Are you gonna? And so there are certain elements of each song. That's a hard one. Why are you gonna ask me my
I
favorite?
know it's a hard one. It's a hard one. I agree.
Because
I agree.
I do like devotion. I like true devotion. I like reasons. I love Can't Hide Love as well.
I love that one. I love that one too. That's one of my favorites.
So,
But
so
you know what, Brandon? This is what I say. This is what I say. When we get those hard questions, I say this is my favorite for this. This is
okay,
also my favorite, and then this is also
no,
because sometimes you just can't deny. Sometimes you can't decide, right? It might be a favorite for a certain mood, or it might be a favorite where you need it right now for this, right? But they're all genius songs, and like where it's strong in one area, I don't know. That's a he will trip you up. He must will trip you up with questions. That's a hard question, and
But I
I'm
think
just gonna just say all three. I can. Why can I have all three as my favorite, Brandon? You know I believe in abundance.
right. I think reasons, right? I think reasons though. It's one of the best constructed song vocally in my view. The way how they did that song, the vocals in that song, yeah, I really think that's one of the best constructed vocal songs. So I'm conflicted with reasons and devotion. Yeah, in terms of my favorite. I mean,
And
everyone
now
has
you made us all conflicted, Imhotep.
I'm actually going to agree with you on that because as much as I love devotion, I think like from a phrasing perspective, it is a little disjumbled compared to reason. I'll give you that.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Just
telling you. Like it's, but Brandon, remember, don't forget, listen to that song. It sounds like Scott Joplin, Ragtime, right? No, but what Imhotep said is true. Like, yeah, I agree with that too. I can see the reasons being, yeah. I don't know. I'm still gonna say I'll have all three of them as my favorite. So let me mute and let me see if he asks another question.
all right. So in terms of like the Sal Soul Orchestra, TSOP, I'm not sure if you like followed like those type of music back then, right? You know, Barry White, you don't know the 3 degrees because they were a part of like TSOP and MFSB and things like that, right? But what was impressive to me was the orchestras, right? The Sal Soul Orchestra and things like that. So I'm asking you now, is that like were you inspired by those groups as well?
yeah, and it's funny. I'm aware of the orchestras. I think my biggest intro to that was through Quincy Jones orchestral works, and through especially because when I was growing up, I read and then I got the anthology of the Quincy Jones autobiography and that anthology, and then that's kind of really where I kind of really followed his big bands, and then also I love the way that Quincy kind of wrote for orchestras because the funny thing about Quincy's orchestras were that they were not as large as the big bands, kind of like Barry White's as
Yeah,
well, weren't as large, but they definitely played a a major way in how, like you said, kind of the texture. Like it's something interesting about the analog sound from the 70s and the 80s that we still, I think, are still trying to chase even now.
yeah,
The
yeah, yeah,
microphone, all of that, I think, a level of, I still feel like we're still trying to chase because that sound really just hit your face. And it
yeah,
was interesting
yeah,
about it because, like I said, it wasn't. We have so much more technology nowadays, but I don't think that and I'm not trying to sound subjective on this, but like I don't
right,
think that
right,
the
right.
music sonically hits us in the same way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because it's so everything is it's just so produced. There's something about the rawness. I remember even when I went to New Orleans before Katrina and went down to hear the blues, the blues, and even the Indians too. That they call it, something Mongolias. Um, you know who I'm talking about. It's so much pain and like it was just so raw, and the improv was so raw. You find that a lot of people aren't doing improvs anymore. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's there's something about there's something about music having to be the outlet, right? And the authenticity of the work, and you can actually hear it and feel it. compared to now, where a lot of it is, as you say, it has a price tag on it. They want to create it for a hit or make it viral, and it's just so produced. You know what I mean?
Well,
So
I think
yeah,
it's produced, but I also think as well, after pandemic, I think what we utilize music for is something totally different, in terms
yeah.
of the so
In terms of the what? Say that again because we couldn't hear you.
I said in terms of how we connect to music, especially after the pandemic. You know, we've definitely, and I'll I'll bring out the elephant in the room. Technology is great, but somehow when we use AI to kind of also help to create music, that's all, it's not the
Yeah,
same
it's not good.
authenticity of, like I said, a real string orchestra. Like, and there's nothing against, I have nothing against the virtual instruments and the virtual things that are out here that sound just as similar, but it's not quite, it just does not have the same approach. So, like I said, the technology has improved, but I don't necessarily know that that's, for the betterment.
For the
Right,
when it
because
comes to the actual soul of the music, yeah.
oh my gosh,
Yeah,
you
Imhotep,
took
what
the
were you
word.
saying? Let me mute. Let
You,
Imhotep talk.
no, you took the word out my mouth because I was just gonna say that music. They would say music had soul,
Right,
right?
right,
And that's why it was
right.
like soul music because it had a different connection. Like,
Yeah,
when you hear it, when you hear the beats, when you hear the rhythms, you hear the vocals, it connects to your soul.
yeah.
And that's the reason why one of my favorite songs of all time, one of my favorite groups as well is the OJs, right?
OJs, yeah.
Yeah, and when they did I Love Music, any kind of music,
Any kind of
yeah,
music.
that for me was just a classic. And what they were saying is that they love music, any kind of music. You get what I'm saying? So they were expressing their
Yeah,
love for music in general. So we are
yeah,
in an era now where our love for music, these millennials and Gen Z and Gen X, I think it's more of a preference or who they like. Back then, people loved music in general. There was no like, oh, I only listen to this artist and I only listen to that artist.
yeah.
Back then, people listened to music because
Everything.
music had soul. Once it was a quality song, you listen to it.
That's
I
right.
think there's a shift right now where it's more about who we prefer, or oh, I rate this artist, so I'm listening to his music only. It's totally different from what it was back then, where we all embrace music once it was good music. It doesn't matter who sang it, we appreciated it. It's a bit different now, unfortunately. But I just
Yeah,
mentioned that song by the OJs, and that was done in about what 1975, there and about it,
yeah. 74. Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Right. But my point was 1975, there and about, people were expressing their love for music in general, any
yeah,
kind of music, and the music had soul in it.
yeah. So
It had soul in it. The music today, yes, there are some quality productions from some artists, but when you compare the music of today to the music of the 60s and 70s, even like songs like even Jerry Butler, right? Jerry Butler, Jerry Butler, he was a brilliant musical mind as well, right? When he did songs like Nothing Says I Love You Like I Love You,
like I love you. Yeah,
that's, when you hear that, it connects to your soul.
yeah,
So I'm just saying, the music back then, yeah, you didn't have to say a word. your
yeah.
your body, mind, and soul connected with the music.
That's
These
right.
days, it's just a bit different. I just wanted
That's
to,
right. That's
share
right.
my perspective on
Yeah.
that.
Thanks for that. Thanks for that, Imhotep. I tell you, he's so passionate about
Very
music.
well.
And you know what, Brandon? I tell you, like, it's. I was looking back at my, like I do my meditation, and I look back. I've always, no matter where I go or what stage I am in life, I always connect with these people that are so passionate about music and about performance and about art. It's like they find me or I find them for some reason, you know what I mean? And then we have more lifelong friendships, right? And all of my friends that I've had through the arts, like even Keon, God rest his soul, he passed. Kabibi, God rest her soul too, she passed. Um, right?
There is.
Yeah. So and how she passed. Yeah. Somebody told me that it had something to do with alcohol. So I said, you know what? I didn't hear that formally, so I will not talk about it. I know that she was driving in California and she went over a cliff, right? Somebody said, but Julia, it had something to do with. I said, you know what? I don't care. She was my friend. She was a good soul. And I don't know how true that is because that was not reported. So I'm not even going to include her in anything. You know what I mean? With that Keon too, or artist group. So and all of my friends who are connected with through art or through the music, they've been lifelong. It's lifelong, right? Like we disappear, we go away for 7 years, we come back. Every time we talk together, Brandon, it's like we were just at Howard, just on the yard yesterday, right? So, Imhotep, are there any other questions? Because we're going to wrap up right now. You guys know I just came from a lodge meeting this morning, so I'm
I
going
just
to
want to ask.
be.
I just want
Yeah,
to
go
ask.
ahead, go ahead, go ahead. Let me
Yeah,
mute.
I just want to ask him like, who is his favorite artist if he has one? Our group, our group, our
I
group.
told you he's going to ask you some questions that's going to like tie you up.
I'm gonna. Oh gosh, I think I'm gonna. Yeah, I personally I like Stevie Wonder as as as
Yeah,
and because I kind of also feel like a lot of Stevie style kind of
yeah.
fuse even a lot of what you hear even from Michael Jackson, from a John Legend. Like I don't get me started on the John Legend Stevie Wonder
Oh my
similarity
gosh, yeah, yeah,
within chord structure and all of that, and even Prince. I'm going to kind of say Stevie, and I also say that from a way of how he kind of crafts and creates songs. And you just got me on it. I'm actually probably listening to it on. I'm gonna say Earth, Wind, and Fire at this point. We're just gonna keep it with that.
yeah,
And from a sense of both the group Earth, Wind, and Fire and Stevie Wonder, their music was not the easiest to play to interpret.
right.
But you have the non-traditional listener or the novice listener being able to sing ridiculous changes on overjoy
Ridiculous riffs, yeah.
or as like I said, like this major minor changes or Boogie Wonderland, which like I said, like who jumps their register and their range from this level of and I say that they have a catalog that is a combination of fast, short, those elements as well. From a hybrid, I'm gonna definitely say Kirk Franklin is one of my favorites as well. Because he kind of, like I said, kind of melds a little bit of all of those styles as well.
Yeah, he's a student of the music as well.
Absolutely.
Do you remember when I met I did tell you I met Smokey Robinson?
Yes.
He was one of my heroes that I was just so happy to meet, right? Because they always say never meet your heroes. That's why I don't follow a lot of the people that I actually like their music because I don't want to know too much about them because it might turn me off.
It'll
But when
change.
I met him, oh my God, and he sang for us too. He sang for, and he was just so he's like, stay in school, be good, and we sang for him, and he loved our voice, and he's like, you guys got it, you guys have that magic, and he was just so gracious to us, and that's why I say exposure matters because I got exposed to him just through Howard, just through Howard. We were backstage at Crampton. He was there, not Crampton, the big auditorium. He was there, and he came back and spoke to us, and I just couldn't believe. So we have good exposure, and just like we are talking about the professors that actually protected us from the bad exposure, like looking back at like what Cassie's going through, and so forth. But I'll let Imhotep ask his whatever final question he has.
Right.
Imhotep, I want to thank you so much for spending the time and coming, and I really do appreciate it. Right?
No problem, Miss
So
Julia, my kid. You know, so we can
I
all have
do.
musical reason for the next
Oh,
six
I know
hours.
that.
We know
That's
what
why I
it's
was
time.
telling Brandon about it. Like you definitely
Yeah.
pick up. You're one of us. You're
Right.
definitely one of us.
So,
Definitely a
so
touch.
in closing, I just want to say that like my favorite group, um, I would say I love the OJs, right? But I would say the Stylistics, right? The Stylistics, yeah, right there for me. And then now, like individually, it's between Kendricks, right? Because he was a beast, right? And I also listen. I don't want to leave out the ladies, Tina, because Tina Marie. Trust
Oh
me.
my gosh.
The
Yes,
Deja
yes,
Vu, because
yes,
that's one of my
yes,
favorite songs. But
yes.
you see, Ronnie Dyson.
Yeah.
Ronnie Dyson, even though he died young,
Yeah.
yes, Ronnie Dyson is
How old are
gold.
you?
So, anyways, big up on yourself.
Big up
Greatly
yourself and
appreciate
thanks
this.
so much,
Yeah, man,
Everton, for
respect.
coming.
Greatly
Thanks
appreciated.
so much for
Big
coming.
up, Brandon.
Pleasure meeting you.
Yeah, man, no problem.
Yeah. Yeah,
Let's take.
that's one of my friends and supporters, Brennan. I've been so blessed to meet good people along my journey and wherever I go, you know what I mean? And it helps that they're musically inclined as well and artistic. That's the type that we draw people to us, right? So talk about happy accident. This was a happy accident too. This the amethyst. It wasn't supposed to be amethyst, but I didn't have another stone. So that was a happy accident and it turned out fine. So you see, no mistakes. Like Professor
Yes.
Selman said, happy accident. So one last question, Brandon, and then you can leave us with whatever you want to ask us, with whatever you want to tell us. What's one lesson? No, two more questions. What's one lesson you learned the hard way in your career that you wish someone told you earlier?
Um, it's a couple lessons. I'm gonna make it real brief, but one is
Yeah,
to just be yourself and not
yeah,
try to. We have people that we talked about our mentors and those kind of things, and I think
yeah,
sometimes we try to emulate some of what they are, but sometimes we try to be
yeah.
too much of what they are. Just the biggest level of success is when you are authentically you.
Thank you.
So
Thank
so
you.
that's you are a combination of those experiences, those sums of those people that have been a part of your journey, but just continuing to be you. And also this, and the second thing I was just gonna say, just that level of just continuing to stay humble.
Yeah. So back that let me tie that in to what you are creating. You just said be yourself. All these parts of you makes you uniquely you. That's a mosaic. That's the name of your new project. There, of
It,
course. Of
that's
course,
it.
of course, Miss Bluefire is gonna pull it together. Um I haven't changed much, have I?
Not at all.
All right. If you could go back and talk to your younger self, just starting out in music, what would you say to young Brandon?
Enjoy the process and live in the moment. I think that's the main
That's
thing.
the main thing. I love
I
that.
think
I love
I
that.
think sometimes we are so task driven, performance driven on the
Yeah.
piece of art that we're doing, but sometimes we don't get to enjoy and see the forest for the trees, or just live in that moment, in that space, to enjoy it.
Yeah.
So
You know what? I think I would say that to myself too, because the other day I was doing some spring cleaning and I found some of my old theater photos. And I found when I did the Medea, right? The Oedipus's Medea. And I was just going through the photos with the set and the costume, makeup, and everything. And I was just saying, man, we were so focused on having a great performance. Like after every night, we have that thrill. The first night, the second night, we have a bigger thrill. The third night, we're like, okay, we might slip up a little, do what we want a little bit because the last night anyway, we're just having fun, right? But looking back, I realized I
mm,
enjoy it more now in hindsight,
yep.
than when I was there because I was under so much pressure, right? As Medea to perform that and to bring the truth to that, right? And yeah, like I guess it's a part of it. I guess
Yeah,
I guess
absolutely.
it's a part of it. It's a part of the journey, right? And we learn how to be better to ourselves, especially when we're holding ourselves against such high standards. And yeah. Well,
Hmm.
listen, thanks again, Brandon. You have been awesome. And people, you can get this, notyourchild.com/products, or just go to notyourchild.com. Brandon, thank you. Thanks for
Thank you,
being here. And thank
thank
you,
you,
and
Julia.
thank you for my song. And you need to entitle it Blue. I don't want to hear that song anywhere else, Brandon. That's my song. I'm gonna copyright it to me. You wrote that for me. It's my song. And if if I hear that anywhere, it's gonna be a problem.
Oh my God.
Unless you say this was for me, my good friend from HU, the
And
real HU.
continue to soar, my friend. You are doing incredible work.
Thank you.
Like I said, your family is smiling and proud of you, and then your circle is even prouder of you. So
Thank you.
continue and enjoy the process.
I will. Bless you, my friend. Thanks.
Bless
And thanks everybody for being here in the chat. And we apologize to TikTok. It's restream. Bye. Bye, Brandon.
you. Take care.
Take care. Hey, everybody. Thanks for being with me today on Sunday. And next week, we go back to our business books. And yeah, I realized that I have the eighth habit right here too. I finished that last year. So remember we did the 7 habits of highly effective people. We have the eighth habit too. We can go over that. But next week we have a different book. I just didn't know. I just not too sure which one I want to do next week. And I'm going to keep it nice and short. So I'm going to open up the floor so you guys can come and talk while we are going through the lessons in the book. Instead of having me teach for so long and then you guys forget what to ask, it's going to be open floor, right? We get through what we get through. I'm going to make the lessons shorter for you. I promise. Right? Everything can't be important in the book. And really, I'm supposed to be driving you guys back to want to read the book. So I shouldn't be going through every chapter so thoroughly where it takes 3 hours. I don't want to do that anymore. So that's what I'm going to do. Blessings and big up Merkaba, Rick Storm, my people on Instagram. Thank you, everybody. And don't forget to check out Ematep's live as well as Rick Storm's live stream on YouTube for more musical genius. And you guys, remember, and Brandon, if you're still listening, go and listen to Summertime and listen to the instrumentals behind that. Listen to that piano. It sounds like a Scott Joplin. It sounds like it could be ragtime. To me, it's like it could be ragtime. Everybody, my Canadian listeners, go and listen to this song. It's from Vibes Cartel. It's called Summertime. But listen to it differently. Don't just listen to the song. Listen to the instrumentals in the background. Listen to the piano in that song. Beautiful song. I think it just won silver again. So we'll see. It's an older song though, but check it out. Okay, everybody, bless you. I'm going to go change and get something to eat because I've been up since 9 performing. Okay, bye everyone.